It's all about saying the real barriers and the real obstacles. The barriers are recognizing that each and every one of us has our own inclusion story and our own exclusion story. For each and every one of us, there will be some kind of barrier to entry.
What are some of the common challenges or barriers to create an inclusive working environment, and how can they be overcome?
Another good question. So I think first and foremost, I would say to you that most of the barriers are invisible ones. So most of the barriers are within me. They're about my perceptions, my beliefs, and they may be in mine as the manager, or they may be in mine as in the employee. But that's actually quite a big problem in its own right. So I think the way you overcome that is you have to do, particularly when you're working with underrepresented talent, for example, underserved talent. I think organizations have to do two things, and they have to do them simultaneously. So on the one hand, there's a huge piece of work where you have to prepare the talent for the organization. So let's say we're talking about the work we're contemplating in Brazil, for example, and we're talking about bringing people into corporate organizations that have no corporate background. Maybe nobody in their family's ever worked in a corporate environment. They've not been to university or so forth. So they don't know what the codes are to corporate life. So the first thing we have to do is help them prepare the talent for the organization, because that's a very significant cultural, emotional, intellectual trepidation barrier. But the second thing I have to do, or simultaneously, I have to prepare the organization for the talent. So now I have to say, actually, when this talent turns up and it hasn't been to Sao Paulo University or wherever it might be, and they're not white males or whatever, and they don't come with penny loafers and chinos and whatever else it might be, and they don't have this kind of, they don't come wafting through your organization driven along by the gust of privilege. They are simple people that are facing these invisible headwinds that they're battering against every day. And they didn't come to work in a car or wander around from, wherever. They had to take the bus, and they had to do this. And it's a question of changing people's mind about what you're looking at. So it's important for me to be able to do that. So culturally, I think there are some very significant barriers. And then once you bring those in, it's important to understand that, and this I think is a big thing I've seen in social justice work, there's a very, very big difference between intelligence and education.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about this is, if you talk to the kids who are like me, who grew up on the street, we weren't educated, but you got to be super intelligent to survive that.
Streetwise.
You got to be intelligent, right? Yeah. And I may be more intelligent than you are, but I'm not as educated. Now, the question is, are you intelligent enough to know that education is not the only answer? Okay.
I haven't thought about it that way before. Yeah.
But that's the point. Yeah. So those are barriers. So so a lot of the barriers in the mind, but then there might be other barriers. So there might be barriers, for example, in terms of just access barriers, and they might be serious about, does the building that we work in, do the way that we work, does it enable people that are neurodiverse to work here? Is there too much noise, too much sound, too much light, too much stuff? Is there not enough? What happens if I have a physical disability? Can I access your building? Do I have to work at this pace? And so on and so forth. So it's all about saying the real barriers and the real obstacles. The barriers are recognizing that each and every one of us has our own inclusion story and our own exclusion story. For each and every one of us, there will be some kind of barrier to entry. But my question is, am I invested enough to be able to remove those barriers for you and to create an equitable space for the two of us to work together?